G'day watchers, welcome to Perth Watch, your horology channel, broadcasting from right here in Perth, Western Australia. Today I have another piece from Melbourne Watch Company. This is the third piece I've reviewed from Melbourne. I started with the Sorrento quite a while ago, and the more recent one I reviewed was the Lonsdale. Both, pretty fair pieces, but this one, I tell you, I've taken a liking to, and I actually put up a poll on the Facebook page because I had a few watches and I wasn't really sure which one I should do, so I asked you guys, and you guys have voted this number one. So this is the winner of the poll. The watch comes in a fairly hefty box, the fairly common normal Melbourne Watch Company box, which is in this black case. So without further ado, guys, let's flip the camera around and take a closer look at this guy. Alright guys, so here we have the watch box on the table, Melbourne in silver printing here. This is the outer cardboard box. Spinability, probably a 3 actually, it's not too bad. Let's just open it up and show you the inner box, which a lot of you would have seen already if you follow Melbourne. So probably a 3.5 actually spinability rating. Not fantastic, but it's there. Wood kind of pattern, so faux wood here on top of what I think is MDF. I think that's more likely than not. And then there is a compartment there for the warranty as well as a manual. So I'll just show you Burnley automatic, so it's kind of at least partially customized to this particular watch. Okay, let's just show it to you. You guys pause it and read it if you wish. Most of us won't need operating instructions for a 3-hander with date. Alright, that's really what you're getting here, okay, for this watch. And you can see already I've shown you the watch name. Inside here I've kept the tag as well as the extra links, quite a number of extra links which I've removed to fit my wrist. Okay guys, so here we go. Is the watch in closer detail. Hopefully you can see the color of the dial, which is coming through as a green. It is actually quite a dark green, and this is what this model is the Burnley automatic in green. It does come in a few other colorways, and you can check that out on the website. The MSRP of this watch is pitched at 850 Australian dollars. It is frequently on sale, as every time I check the site, it seems to be on sale for around 680 Australian, and so that's 20% off, and that equates currently to about 470 USD, which is the currency that most viewers would be talking in. Alright, so let's talk about the movement, as I tend to do first up. Okay, so on the left is the details here. You've seen this movement before. Miyota 9015 is this particular movement, a high beat movement, and in this case the quick set date is featured on that window, which is, hopefully I can catch this, bordered by a silver window there, a steel window. Rated accuracy, as you can see on the left of screen, and in this case pretty well rated, +5 seconds per day in the week that I've had this particular watch. Okay, so enough about the movement here, so let's talk about the case. The case here is 42 millimeters, so the diameter of the case is actually measured at 42 millimeters. That is the real diameter, if you're able to catch the diameter without catching the crown guards there. But I gotta tell you, it wears a lot smaller than that, because the bezel itself is actually 39 millimeters, right? The width of the bezel, you can see it actually is smaller than the case size. Overall thickness is actually very pleasing. It's only 10.5 millimeters on thickness. Lug width is not so relevant here, but for what it's worth, it's 13.5 millimeters between those lugs there. So the smaller part of the bezel link is 13.5 millimeter fit in there. Lug to lug distance, so right at the tips there between my thumbs, the lug to lug distance is 48 millimeters on this particular watch. Overall weight on this metal bracelet is 160 grams, so fairly substantial. It's nice and hefty because I think the steel they've used is pretty solid, right? There's no hollowness in the construction of this watch here. Let's talk about finishing. Circular brushing on the top, and then it's got a polished edge or part of the bezel there. Hopefully that you can see that in the camera. Longitudinal brushing is the finishing on the top of the case. Horizontal brushing on the side there, and it's also longitudinal on the bottom side of the case. But you can see there's a polished bevel there and another polished bevel there. So top and bottom edges of the case have polished bevels there. The case back itself, you can see, is screw secured, so it's not screwed down. It's secured by these 6 screws around the periphery. Circular brushing is the finishing on the case back with various details around the side there, and a display window for that Miyota movement that you can see there, with a rotor that is partially decorated, right, with the M symbol, and it's got a colored bit. So nice touch that they decorated that and didn't just leave it plain. I think you really need to do that if you're going to do a display back, otherwise it just looks a bit lazy. So at least they've done that. The crown is signed, right, of course, with an M for Melbourne. Hopefully that comes through, but it is not a screw down crown. In this case, it winds in the 0 position, so it's a push crown, and overall water rating for this watch, which is really a dress style watch, is 50 meters. And I think that's fine. 50 meter for a dress style watch is okay. Now moving on to the dial. The dial is fairly attractive. Hopefully again you can see the green coming through there because it's fairly dark. So it's a dark green. It's got a vertical brush pattern here, printed details all over, including the chapter ring, but it does have applied polish indices in 12 positions, including a truncated indice at the 3 o'clock position for the date window. It's got polish faceted hands, so steel kind of faceted hands. It's got a simple stick seconds with an M counterbalance for the Melbourne name. Loom is on the main hands as well as the compass indices, so not all 12 indices, but just the 3, 6, 9, 12 position here, and a loom shot right here, of course, for you guys to see how it looks like in the dark. Okay, on top of the dial is a flat sapphire crystal, with some anti-reflective coating here, right, which is not bad. So you look at it straight on, it's pretty good anti-reflective treatment here. That's what we're having. Moving on to the bracelet then. So integrated lugs, of course, as you have seen me shown earlier. So it's got a brush H-link finishing here, brush on the side, but it does also have a polished bevel both on the main H-link as well as the smaller center link. So as we hold it in the light, it actually looks pretty good. It's pretty nicely finished, I could say, the way they've done this bracelet. And as I mentioned, it's actually a pretty solid bracelet as well. So nothing to talk about in terms of end links because you've got that integration there, but it does have, let me see if I can show you, screw link adjustment. Okay, so nice that they've gone with screw links rather than push button as they have done in the past. The butterfly deployant here is pretty standard, so nothing too special. It's just a push button butterfly deployant that you've seen in other watches. Okay, so there you go. That's the entire description of this particular watch. Let's just show it on the wrist shot now for you guys. So there we have it, guys. The Melbourne Burnley automatic on my 17 centimeter wrist. 10.5 millimeter stick, so fairly slim. Remember, 42 millimeter size, but 39 millimeter bezel with lug-to-lug distance of 48 millimeters, so it sticks out somewhat, over the wrist there. Okay, so that's the entire description. What have I enjoyed about this particular watch? Well, look, I think I'm gonna say this is my favorite Melbourne Watch Company watch yet. It is actually a pretty good looker. Yes, of course, it takes a lot of inspiration from, I think, a combination from Audemars Piguet as well as Patek, particularly the Nautilus with, that polygonal top of the case, as well as that bracelet, the way the bracelet is integrated and has that H-link shape. I think there's a lot of Patek Nautilus in there, but, yet it's not identical. So, kudos to them that they've done a pretty good looking watch. I like that it's very slim. I like that they've gone for the Miyota 9000 series movement rather than a Seiko NH35 or something like that. I think the quality is pretty solid. It has a very solid quality feel to it. and the bracelet is pretty well done. I gotta say, screw links very solid and nicely finished. That is a strength on this watch. I like the nice design cues, so the faceted markers. I didn't mention that before, but the indices are kind of faceted along with the handset. I like the bevels, particularly on the case side. It kind of adds a bit of interest, as well as the ones on the bracelet itself. The brushing on the dial is subtle, but yet it does require a little bit of work to add that. So, nicely done, subtle brushing there. And the overall case architecture is pretty nice, 42 millimeters, but it wears smaller thanks to the slimness, as well as the fact that it's a 39 millimeter bezel. Those are all, I think, positives about this watch. All right, what are the negatives? What are the things of concern? I think the green could be lighter, right? It's nearly black in almost all lighting conditions, especially indoors. People look at this and you just think it's a black dial watch rather than the dark green that it is. So it could have done with a bit lighter, because they do have a black version if you want a black version. The integrated lugs, some people don't like it, because firstly you can't swap out for alternative straps if you like to do that. And then the other thing I'll say is that end link, the first link there, sticks out a little bit. So if you have a smaller wrist, the way it sticks out might not wear so well. I think for mine, 17 centimeters is all right, but for some people this may stick out uncomfortably, and that could be a slight negative there. The water resistance rating, 50 meters, is all right for a dress style piece, but I wish they would just have put in a screw down crown, pushed it to 100 meters. At least you can be more comfortable taking it, into a shower, or maybe just swimming on the surface. You might want a screw down case back. If they push this to a more water resistant watch, this could really, be an everyday wear for all, almost all circumstances. As it is, you probably don't want to take this into a pool, and you may want to consider taking it off if you're taking a shower. That's really the caution I would give about a 50-meter rated watch with a push crown rather than a screw down crown. Last thing I'll say, the price point, I think that would be contentious for many. I know many of you guys find that around the 470 USD mark, 500 USD mark, so much competition. Can this watch really stand out? I'm not sure. Melbourne seem to be fairly successful, and I really do wish them ongoing success in the future as an Australian brand. But at this price point, for what this watch offers, lots of competition, and I'm afraid it might be drowned out. But let me know if you would seriously consider a watch like this. I'm sure many people would. Okay guys, so there we go. That's my thoughts on the Melbourne Watch Company Burnley Automatic. Let's flip the camera around now for the wrap up. So there you go guys, my review of the Melbourne Burnley Automatic. Probably the best one of the three that I reviewed, at least in a subjective sense, and definitely a piece that I like a lot. And it looks like you guys also really were keen to see the review on this. Let me know your thoughts about this model, this pretty good looking model. If you have any experience with Melbourne Watch Company, would also like to hear your thoughts on them. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. New content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys again next time.